Hello everyone, welcome back to a new video. My name is Gabrielle and on this channel I like to talk about books and writing, mostly books. And welcome to my second ever book talk. And I really hope that this goes way better than my first one. In today's video, I'm so excited to say that we are discussing A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. And if you don't know, this is the 5th book of the ACOTAR series in the ACOTAR world. Now, if you haven't read the first 4 books, I wouldn't watch this video yet. You should read those books, then come back. Now, if you haven't read this book yet, but you've read the others, you can stay for a minute. And obviously, if you read those books and this book, you can stay for the entire thing. And we can discuss and talk about this book together. I really don't want to spoil anyone, so if you haven't read any of these books yet, I would not watch this video, as this isn't the first book, so I can't really say much that wouldn't possibly spoil anything from the other books. Even though it doesn't really spoil anything much, I just wanted to let you know that. Well, everyone should know that this book is not following Feyre and Rhys. It is following Casta. This book is following Nesta and Cassian. Nesta is Feyre's sister, and Cassian is one of the bad boys. And it's just so beautiful. I'm really excited to talk about it. I don't know how else to. So this basically this book follows Nesta's and Cassian's sort of like character arc, like we see from their point of views in this. So if you don't want to be spoiled, I would leave right now. Like, leave right now. Just leave now. Leave now. Go. Goodbye. Bye. Bye. Have you left? Alright, spoilery people who have read this book as well, I'm excited to get into this discussion talk. So, first of all, can we just address the amount of sexy times in this book that there was? Like, I think there was more sexy times in this than the other books. And don't get me started on this one scene where Nesta was like thinking about, like, I don't even know, like, how it'd be if her, Cassian, and Asriel were like, you know, that part. I didn't really like that part at all. Like, no, stay away from Asriel. I don't care what you think about how you think of Cassian in that way. But not Asriel. Stop it. We really see Nesta's character grow in this book. I'm not going to lie, in the beginning I really wanted to slap her, throw her off a mountain. If you want to see like my journey reading it and my feelings when I was reading it, I have a reading vlog on this book. Okay, so the Dread Trove. Let's talk about the Dread Trove. So there's the mask, the harp, and the crown. And I'm assuming this thing is the mask of the Dread Trove. And Nesta puts it on and then she can like make dead skeleton people kill things. She had them kill that kelpie thing, you know, that weird kelpie monster thing. Oh, don't get me started on the description of when it was like putting its tongue in her mouth, like kissing her, like ew. And we also meet 2 new characters in this book as well. We meet more than 2. We meet Gwen, who is one of the priestess in the library. She works for that mean Meryl. She like does things for her. And then the overall like head priestess in the library is Clotho, and she doesn't show her face, and like she doesn't like talk. She writes stuff down on paper as her way of communication. And then we meet Emery, who had wings, but they were like, I don't know, I think they were cut off, I believe, or they were like severely damaged by her own father. I can't really explain much about those 2 because I was focused on, well, the 2 main characters and all the other inner circle peeps. Nesta, yes. Nesta, Emery, and Gwen were thrown into the Blood Rite. The Blood Rite! I was like screaming, crying. I was like, oh my god, no, wait. And then Cassian so badly wanted to go get her out of there, and I couldn't handle it. And Bellius, which is Emery's stupid jerk face of a cousin, was the one who threw them in there, I believe. He was going after Nesta, and when they were like at the mountain to get to the top to touch the little rock thing or whatever, Nesta fell down, injured herself, so she couldn't carry Gwen up the rest of the way like the plan was to do. She was like, you guys gotta go on without me. And then Gwen's like, I'm not leaving you, we're going to do this together, blah 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 blah, togetherness. And I was a sobbing mess. I was like, oh my god, oh my god. Nesta, that thing she learned from Cassian about the pressure points at training, she knocks Gwen out and has Emery, who is also slightly injured but able enough to get up there, to carry Gwen up the rest of the way with Emery, while Nesta fought off the males, the Fae males, who were getting closer to them. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, please say Nesta won't die here. Please say you're not going to actually have Nesta die, no matter how much I wanted to throw her off a mountain in the very beginning of this book. But she's grown so much that I was like, oh! She doesn't die, thankfully. And then, oh my gosh, is it Berlin? Berlin. That evil queen lady who had the crown, which could control others, took over Cassian's mind and stuff, but like not fully. Or no, it wasn't it wasn't Lanthus, the evil guy who couldn't be killed, but Nesta somehow just killed him in the book. And then there's also Koschei. I'm still confused about that part. I'm not going to lie. There's the queen, that Berlin queen, or I don't know. The person with the crown who was like inside Eris's head. Oh, don't get me started on Eris wanting to wed Nesta after dancing with her. No. And then Nesta and Elaine had this fight near the beginning. This is so out of order, but I don't really care as long as I talk about it. Nesta and Elaine had a fight, and then Az was up there with them. He told them that Reese wanted to see them down there or something, and then Cassian, because of the crap with Elaine, Asriel stiffened and was like, what happened to Elaine? And like, there's so much foreshadowing in this book about Illyriel. I know their ending. Shut up. Don't get me started on Lucian. I wanted it to be happy, but now I like can't stand him. He was like, I don't come to the city to see my mate all the time. Well, good. I don't want you to come see Elaine, because I know she doesn't want you. She wants Asriel, and I know Asriel wants her, but they're both like, still like, kind of, you know? Oh, one of the dinners where they're like giving gifts to each other, and Elaine was like either talking to Nesta or something like that. I don't know. He was standing in the doorway, and then Elaine just said something about dessert. I can't remember exact line of what she said about dessert. And she nodded at Asriel, and then Asriel sent her a nod with a smile. She quickly looked away and like, ah! And then Cassian was like had a questioning look on his face at that, but also thought, well, Lucian sure isn't here to snarl at any male who looks at her for too long. I was like, that's right, he's not. That's right, he's not. Oh, and, well, no, that was a different, was Lucian there? I don't know, there was some dinner where Lucian was there. That was the gift one. I think this one was a different one. Who knows, who cares, as long as I bring it up. Because if you didn't know, I'm Illyriel and game for life. I don't care. And then the dinner where Lucian was there, oh, that one's where they were giving gifts. This one, the one before, they weren't giving gifts. Asriel stood in the doorway as far away from Lucian. Like, so far away from Lucian. Which I think Lucian was the one by the fireplace. If you want to, like, have these more in order, you can check out my reading vlog, by the way. Oh, and Elaine was, like, sitting as far away from Lucian as she could. So don't get me started on how cute this is. And Nesta herself went up to Asriel. I was like, do you want to sit down over there or something like that? My shadows aren't fond of the fire. Then she nodded and realized who was over by the fireplace. And I think it was Lucien who was by the fireplace, closest to the fireplace. So definitely foreshadowing that he hates Lucien and wants to be with Elaine. And like, there's so many things about Elaine and Asriel that I can just ramble on about. But this is about Nesta and Cassian. Oh my, Nesta and Cassian had to do training because Nesta was drinking constantly, like not living her best life. So that was her punishment, basically. Okay, so Rhys and her hated each other at first. Not that I'm not surprised. I mean, we find out that Feyre can't do whatever it was because she's pregnant. Pregnant! Feyre! Pregnant! Feyre! Pregnant! Feyre! Pregnant! Feyre! Pregnant. When I found that out, I literally screamed. I couldn't handle myself. I was like, Feyre's pregnant. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh, it's happening. Feyre's pregnant. Oh my god. What we all wanted to happen happened. But the baby had wings. It had wings, okay? And her because when Rhys and, you know, her did it, she was shapeshifted into like full Illyrian, so her body was like full Illyrian when they did it, so they, you know, baby inherited the wings, even though Rhys had wings, but Feyre's not like Illyrian, full Illyrian or whatever. It's confusing stuff, okay? So her body wasn't shaped to give birth to a baby that has wings, like Illyrian females. They have their bodies shaped differently so they can give birth to those kind of babies. She was going into labor, bleeding so much, and I think this was when they got out of the rite. And, so, Feyre wasn't supposed to give birth yet, but she went into early labor, and the baby was wedged in the birth canal, and like, there was so much bleeding, and Feyre was dying, and then they got the baby out, but the baby was dead, and then Feyre was dying. Rhys was having a full-on panic attack. He was screaming, and he tried to go to Feyre, but then Cassian was holding him back. And like, it was so much pain for me to read. I was like, this can't be happening. And then they had a bargain of if Feyre dies, Rhys would die. And if Rhys dies, Feyre died. Because they're just so in love. And like Romeo and Juliet crap up in here. And then Nesta went over. She froze time with, the harp. She froze time with the harp before Feyre was about to take her last breath, you know? And I was sobbing, and Nesta went to Feyre. She spoke to Feyre and was like, I'm so sorry, I love you, blah, 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 blah. And then, my heart was at a breaking point. Actually, it was already broken, but it was just re-breaking all over again at this scene. I was a sobbing mess. She was like pleading to the cauldron, please let them live. I will give it all back. I'll give it all back. She made a bargain with the cauldron itself that if Feyre, Rhys, and the baby would live, be alive, that she would give all that power back. And I was just like, oh my god. I was like, the cauldron's not gonna do that, girl. He's not gonna listen to you, even if you're freaking made, death itself, like, constant like, all that ish. But it answered, and Feyre didn't die, Rhys wasn't going to die, and the baby was alive. The baby boy was alive with the wings. I'm crying. I'm literally tearing up just thinking about this moment in this book. I was like, oh my god. And they named the baby Nyx, and then something Nesta was also talking to Cassian about how she would like to start a family with him, but like not yet, obviously. But she said whenever that time comes, she'd like to, because she also like asked for, I can't remember exactly how, she didn't explain how she asked for this part of the body to be able to give birth to a baby that could have wings. And I lost it. I was like, oh my god, this is so cute. I can't. And and they both said I love you to each other for the first time too. And then when Nesta finally called Cassian her mate in the blood rite, when she called Cassian her mate to friggin' Bellius when they were battling it off, she was like, because my mate taught me well. And I just and that's really all I wanted to discuss about this book, even if it was super out of order, but I still discussed it for you and for myself and my soul. And in conclusion, this book had me a sobbing, emotional mess. all the emotions. I was screaming. I was screaming out of anger, screaming out of sadness, pain. I was laughing, smiling, going, ooh, at steamy scenes, and then crying a lot. And there's also a lot of sexy time in here. This one's beyond compare to those. Like, oh my gosh, I realized how much Cassie and Nesta were like, I don't know how to put it, always wanted to each other. A lot more sexy times, a lot more sexual tension in this book for sure. And that's, for some people, that's like, For me, it was okay with those scenes, but it could have had less than it did. But the character arcs in this book, oh my goodness. And seeing Elaine, we could tell that she was starting to learn how to stand up for herself, stand up to Nesta, talk for herself. And if I didn't cover everything, that's because there's a lot to cover in just this one book. And clearly I didn't take notes on this book at all when reading it. I really hope you enjoyed this video, and I hope this book talk at least entertained you. If it was really bad, I hope it entertained you in some way. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. But no spoilers. Don't spoil. Just let me know if you liked the book, what you thought of it. Personally, I really liked the book. It could have lessened down the steamy scenes a bit. And yeah, that's pretty much it for this book talk discussion video. And I will see you all in the next video. So go read a book. Goodbye.